Hey guys, we're back with another video, and per your request, we're going to be doing an oil change onto a 99 Acura Integra, which is our automatic car. First steps first, pull it into a secure, safe location, in our case, our garage. Then you're going to want to pull your emergency brake up, or parking brake. Then go ahead and open your hood. Okay, now that we're over here, we have our hood open. The first thing that I always like to do is check our oil level, because even though if you don't have any visible leaks underneath the car, it could be consuming oil, that is passing it over to the water, which would indicate a faulty head gasket most likely, which we really hope that's not the case, or it could just be simply burning it how older motors do, or they tend to do. So first things first, we're going to check our oil, which we're going to do it by pulling out our dipstick, wiping it clean, reinserting, and then checking it. Now that it's been wiped, we're going to check again. Let's see if we can tell. Okay, I'm not sure if the camera's really picking it up, but we're right in between the two dots, which indicates we're about half a quart low of the maximum available space in the engine. It's not always a terrible thing to be half a quart low in this case. For example, it takes about 4.5 quarts of oil for the whole engine, so we're probably at 4 quarts right now. In between those lines is where you want to be, or those dots is where you want to be always. Now, if you're ever dry, that's the main concern. For 5,000 miles, half a quart isn't too bad, considering this is an older motor and it's never been rebuilt. Okay, so the next step that we're going to go ahead and do is jack the car up, and it's important that before we start lifting the car, like we mentioned, we have our parking brake on, or emergency brake. We are going to use a wheel chock or a block of wood, stick that right below, or right under the rear tire. And what a wheel chock basically does is when you lift the front of the vehicle, the weight is transferred onto the rear, and if by any chance your parking brake fails, it'll have some way of stopping it. Although this is not the official wheel chocks that you can buy at AutoZone, for example, which is a whole ridge that goes up against the wheel. This is still effective in emergency cases. I do recommend getting those real wheel chocks though. You're going to want to look up your manufacturer specification for lifting points. On our Integras, we like to do it right here on the radiator core support. On the bottom there is a square lift point with these two holes, and normally we lift it right from there just using the jack, and we'll place the jack stands on both sides of the vehicle on these pinch points. That's right there, not on the plastic, not past the pinch points, but right on the pinch points. So you're going to lift it from that point in the front that I showed you, and then place your jack stands right on here. For us lowered cars, sometimes you need to go with a low profile jack. This is one that I got from Advanced Auto Parts, although I do recommend the Harbor Freight jacks. The Pittsburgh brand is very good, and they make excellent lowered profile jacks. Once you're at a comfortable height that you feel like you'll be able to go under the vehicle comfortably and safely, you're going to want to make sure you have your jack stands on both sides. Then turn the handle counterclockwise, and this may vary on different models, but almost every jack that I've used in the past counterclockwise. And it's going to drop the car onto the support of the jack stands, and then you'll repump it up just to have the jack there, just in case of any jack stand failure. It's almost like a triple assurance. Then once you have the whole weight of the vehicle on the stands, you're going to want to do the wiggle test, as we like to call it. Going to go to different points of the vehicle and start rocking it. What this is going to do is, if there's any weak points that the jack stands haven't properly been seated, you'll be able to visibly and hearing any problems. So if it needs to seat a different way, you're going to take your jack stands off and put them back on correctly. In other words, the vehicle should not move. Once you have the vehicle lifted securely, you're going to come under the car and locate the oil pan, which you'll see the motor, the bottom of it, it's bolted on. Here's the oil pan. Brighten it up a bit. And your drain plug is the large plug in the back. Generally a 17mm plug or bolt for us Honda guys. You're going to want to grab your pan and position it directly under that bolt and go ahead and loosen it counterclockwise. Now we've broke it free. This is just a nifty little tool that I got from AutoZone that has multiple different socket sizes in millimeter. Once you've broken it free, you're going to go ahead and do the rest by hand. And it's very important, if you just drove the car, the oil will be hot as well as the motor. So please be careful. There we go. Now let that drain out. We're going to go to the top. Now we're up here at the top of the motor. You're going to take your fill cap off. And this is going to allow air to enter the motor while the oil is being drained. That way there's less pressure that's not allowing it from falling. So now you can see the oil is almost fully drained. We're going to leave it there for a few more moments until it's completely done dripping. While we wait for that, here's our goodies from Honda, an OEM genuine Honda filter, which you can pick up for about $6, as well as a crush washer directly from Honda. The crush washer will be here on the drain bolt. You're going to remove the old one, clean off the surface where the bolt goes as well on the oil pan. Place your new washer on there. That's ready for reinstallation. We're going to go ahead and remove the filter as well. On some cars you can access right behind the motor from the top, as we can on this specific model. You're going to feel for it. It's normally right in between, right here. Let me see if I can brighten it up. You see my fingers right there? It's right under it. Same exact filter that's off the car right now. So we're going to loosen that up. Coming down to the bottom for a bottom view. Here's our plug, just for reference. Put it back in so it won't continue to drip. And the oil filter is directly above it. Nearly directly above it. So let's see if I can get a good angle. Here's our plug. The filter is right up here. Okay, now my flash is working. Sorry about that. Here's our bolt or drain plug. Right above it, that blue filter is the one we're taking off. Sometimes they can be a bit stubborn. The gasket likes to almost seize onto the block, especially if the previous person has done it way too tight. So you can use this rubberized glove type thing, or they sell oil filter wrenches as well. So there we broke it loose. Gonna bring our oil pan collector or oil collector right under it as well, because oil will be released when we loosen this. Okay, so what I did was position the oil pan oil collector underneath it, broke it free from the bottom. Now I'm going to finish turning it off from the top. Make sure to catch it once it's fully unthreaded. And the face that goes against the block or the motor, you're going to bring that up. You'll see. Just like that. That way the oil that's still in the filter will not spill everywhere as you're pulling it out. Okay, so there we go. Here's our old filter. People like to change the filters every other oil change, although I personally like to change them every oil change. Makes me feel like I'm doing a little bit something extra for the motor. Okay, now comparing our old oil filter to our new filter, you can see it's the exact same design. Right around here there's a black seal, which on this filter we're going to lubricate. So get a little bit of the old oil or new oil, whatever you want to do. Since it's such a minute amount, it doesn't matter. Going to lubricate the seal and lubricate the threads inside as well, and I'll show you that. Get a little of that oil and lubricate the seal starting off, and I'm going to do it a little bit more once I put my phone down, just to show you. Get a little more oil. You're going to lubricate the threads inside as well. Like I said, I'm gonna do more right now, just for the sake of the video. I'm doing it like this. Okay, now we have this one pre-lubricated. Set that off to the side as well as the old one. And what I like to do always, again, after I have taken off the filter, I go ahead and take the drain plug out again, just to make sure that there's nothing left in there. And as you can see, there was still a little bit in there, so we're gonna let that drain out. Okay, now that it's finished stripping, we put the plug back in, the bolt, and we're gonna tighten this back up. And let me tell you guys, these things do not take a lot of torque, so they don't have to be super tight. Just gotta have the crush washer do its thing. And there is a torque specification, although it's so low that personally I always do it by hand. But for those of you who do use a torque wrench at home, I'll go ahead and put that. I should have a little subtitle for it. Now we have the new filter. Going to set that into place. Thread it on, same as the crush washer. That doesn't have to be super tight. The filter, get it spun on, and tighten it by hand. Once it bottoms out, make sure it's on there. And right there, it's not turning. My glove is slipping, just so you know. And that should be enough. These don't have to be crazy tight either, because when you take it off, same thing's gonna happen. It's gonna be too tight. And as long as that seal, that rubber seal we lubricated, sits flush and has a good amount of tension behind it, but not too much, it'll do its job. Before you finish up here on the bottom, you're gonna wanna wipe all this surface down. You can see there's residual oil from the oil filter as well as the drain plug. You're just gonna wanna wipe it all down. And sometimes it's a good idea to hit it with some brake cleaner or carburetor cleaner, whatever kind of solvent spray you have, or oil cleaner type thing, some degreaser if you want to do that. Just that way, so when you start your motor, it doesn't leak on doesn't fall on the exhaust and cause an oil smell. Now we're back up here. We're all finished with the draining aspect of it. For those of you using the jack stands, I'm gonna go ahead and lift your vehicle again using the hydraulic jack. Remove your jack stands and then drop it down using the counterclockwise technique as I showed you guys on the jack handle earlier. Now make sure you don't drop it all at once, that way it doesn't fall on the floor and start bouncing. And do it very nice and softly, small turns, stabilized hand. Nice and steady. Alright, now we have the jack out of the way. We are going to be filling the oil now. My favorite type of oil to use is Mobil 1. On this car, for example, I always run Mobil 1 530 full synthetic. For this, I usually go with a synthetic blend or a conventional even, if it's just a regular daily car. In this case, I have a mixture of oils that I'm going to be using. Synthetic blend Valvoline, I believe. Let's see what I have. Yes, the Valvoline Max Life 1030, going to be using in this particular case. And that's a synthetic blend. Now, always look up your manufacturer specification to see how much oil is needed. In these cars, they normally do about 4.5 quarts. And we have the dipstick to check. This contains 5 quarts, so we're gonna fill it up about 3/4 of the way and then check our dipstick tube. So right there, let me put my phone down, but you get the gist of it. Much easier to go ahead and use the funnel. Okay, now that we have the oil fully filled, it's our 4.5 quarts in there. We can read the dipstick and ensure that we're correct. And we're going to take the dipstick, or the funnel out. Place our cap back on. What I always like to do to prevent dry cranking, or dry starting as they say, since there's no oil currently in the filter, I'll disconnect the distributor and give it a few cranks without it starting. I should mention this is not important for some people, or some people don't do it. I personally like to, because I don't like the idea of no oil running through my motor for the first, even if it's half a second. So we're gonna go ahead and give it a few cranks. Alright, we're good on that. Now basically what we just did is pressurize the oil system, and it'd be kind of like priming your fuel system, but this is the oil, of course. So we just primed our oil. Now we are going to reconnect the distributor and give it its actual first start. So this is our real first start, and we're going to start it and let it idle for about 20 to 30 seconds. Alright, now that 30 seconds have passed by, we should be good to turn it off. Now we're going to let the oil sit down to the bottom of the oil pan again, so let's wait about a minute for that. And what you're going to want to do now is recheck your oil level using that dipstick method that we showed you at the beginning of the video. If it's back at the level that shows full, in between those two dots at the second dot, or on the up dot, you could say, sorry, my wording is kind of weird right there, then you're all set to go. If you're missing a little bit, go ahead and add a little bit. It's normally about a quart in between each of those dots, just to give you a rough reference point. Just try not to pass it, because if you do put too much oil, it could lead towards other problems. Generally, it's not a huge thing, but just always stay below the top dot, but above the bottom dot. Okay guys, if you have any other questions or you want to see any other videos, just let me know. Thank you for watching today. Comment, like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think. Thanks.